Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, my humble obeisances to you all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Today we are continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 10, verses 37 to 40. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm sharing my screen already, Maharaj. You can please take over whenever you are ready. Are you able to hear me properly, Maharaj?
Yeah, we can hear good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, 10th chapter, verses 37 to 40. Bring up the Sanskrit. Go to the
I'm
Sanskrit.
sharing my screen now. Okay.
Yeah, but give me the Sanskrit. I can't see it. You're too far down the page. Okay. There you go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimati, you got too many windows open and they keep popping up. Close everything except that one window.
I'm sorry, Guru Maharaj. I think I'm sharing only one. I'll stop again and I'll share. I'm so sorry. I think mine.
Are you still in India?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah.
Okay. You can see, I can see on the top you have a three or four windows open.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. I'll close that. Are you able to see my screen now, Maharaj?
Yeah. Go down go up the page a little more. Yeah. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate. Don't move there. If you move again, oops, there you go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prajapatim Manudevam Rishinim Pritigada Pratak Siracharna Gadarvam Vidyadara Suraguyakan Kinnara Apsaro Nagam Sarpakim Purushannaram Matriraksha Pisacham Cha Preta Bhuta Vinayakam Kusmando Mandavetalam Yuktadanam Graha Api Kagamirgam Pasam Briksan Girim Nipan Saris Prispan Dvivadas Chaturvidye Nye Jalastana Nabak Kasaham Kusala Misra Karmanam Gatayas Tvi Maha. Translation.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I'll stop sharing. Sridevi Mataji will share the screen. Is it okay? She can do.
I have to get to the translation, which it's not up yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very slow on my side, so that's why. Sridevi Mataji?
You can make me
Sorry,
co-host,
Maharaj.
Shrimati. If you make
Yes,
me
Mataji.
co-host,
Yes, Mataji, I made you co-host.
Okay, translation. Go up the page a little more, right there, stay there. O King, know from me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. This includes Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaivashvata Manu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna, the great sages like Bhrigu, Vyas, and Vasishta, the inhabitants of Prityaloka, Siddhaloka, the Charnas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kanars, and angels, the serpentines, the monkey shapes, Kim Purushash, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matriloka, the demons, Pishyashas, ghosts, spirits, lunatics, and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds, all others, whether they be in the land, water, or sky, in happiness and distress, or in mixed happiness and distress, all of them according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. Purport. The living entities, the varieties of living entities as mentioned in this list, and with no exception from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in different species of life are created by the Almighty Father, Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living beings as his offspring in the following verse. Sarvayonashu Kaunteyam Murtaya Sambhavanti Yaham Tasam Brahma Mahayonir Aham Bija Padapita. The material nature is compared to the mother, although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body. It is still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the material universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead, and only the man with a poor fund of knowledge do they appear to be born of material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living beings, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds. Material nature is one of the energies of the Lord, as explained in Bhagavad Gita 7:4. Material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities, the superior nature. The superior nature and the inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions, whereas others are in distressed conditions of life. But factually, none of them are actually happy in material condition life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third-class prison life to first-class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. One may be promoted to a first-class prisoner, but the same first-class prisoner is again degraded to a third-class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is the real goal of all types of living entities. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padayat Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakte Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschyatyare Satarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhischa Pipa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Shastras enjoin that there are 8,400,000 species of life divided into 5 categories. We see within this listing here, there's a variety of living entities that fit into one of the 5 categories. That is aquatics, trees, plants, and creepers. Insects are in that category. And you have birds, and you have beasts, and then you have the human species, and there are 400,000 types of human species, as is mentioned here, from the highest sage-like human species down to the lower forms of human species, such as goblins and lunatics, evil spirits, ghosts, and various other forms of living entities. There's such a variety of living entities because the activities of karma are very complex. Just like if you take, there are 3 principal colors, red, blue, and yellow. If you mix those 3 colors, you can get thousands and thousands of varieties of colors by mixing them in different ways. So there are 3 modes of material nature, and you can mix those modes in different different quantities of their own, and then you produce various types of living entities according to that mixture of the modes of material nature. So you see, even within the human category, there are so many varieties. In the aquatics, there are 900,000 different types of aquatics, 1,100,000 different types of birds, insects, trees, plants, like that. There's 2 million. beasts, there are 3,400,000 for the human species. And so all of them, as is mentioned here, are products of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, he is the life-giving source of all living entities, both in the spiritual sense and the material sense. When Krishna glances over the material energy, he impregnates the material energy with different types of material energy, different types of living entities. That impregnation develops according to their karma in their past life, or you might say the past millennium. And then they reappear. Brahma sometimes is called the father of all living entities. Sometimes Shiva is called the father of all living entities. But they play the role of the father under the Supreme Father, which is Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form, who manifests as different forms of himself until he comes to the Mahavishnu form, which activates the creation from the previous millennium, and everything begins again. It's like the living entities wake up from a long sleep. They're not even aware that they're sleeping, but they're in a dormant stage of existence with no activities in the body of Mahavishnu. And then they are generated out by Mahavishnu with the help of Lord Brahma, who plants them in material energy according to their different karma, and they get a body accordingly. And this is how the material energy works. Now, the material nature of the three modes of material nature, of goodness, passion, and ignorance, is the birth source of those living entities, as is described here, with the comparison that is made on the human level when a mother and a father want to have a child, they unite. The father injects the seed into the womb of the mother, and the mother provides the body, the father provides the life. And by the presence of that seed, within that seed is the living entity. And then the body starts to develop, and that is called birth. And that, well, we call it birth when it comes out, but actually life starts in the womb. There are a class of people who are prominent in today's society, or scientists and other plan makers. They say life starts at birth, and then they say that, there's no life until it actually manifests externally in a form. But actually, life starts in the womb as soon as there is conception or emulsification of that womb by the father who gives the seed. In the same way, as below, so above, we might say, as above, so below. So Krishna is the seed-giving father, and he injects that life into Mother Nature, and then Mother Nature produces the bodies, and Krishna gives the life. And then here we are in different species of life. And there's such a variety because the activities of the material world, as we mentioned, using the example of a mixture of colors, is so variegated, you get different types of living entities. And that's divided into three categories. Those who live in the higher planets, those who live in the middle planets, and those who live in the lower planets. In those three sections of higher, middle, and lower, there are 14 planetary systems with innumerable planets with each of the planetary systems. Just like in this planet, the scientists can only see nine planets, but there are many more planets in this universe they can't see because they don't have the ability or the instruments to go beyond a certain range. And they don't even understand what's in the cosmic creation, because sometimes they see these, they call them stars, but actually many of these stars are actually smaller planets, but they're a farther distance away where no one can make out their actual form. And they give a little light from a distance. We call them stars, but actually many of these stars are actually planets. The scientists wrongly conclude that these stars are suns, but they're not suns. Right? There's only one sun in every universe, and there's innumerable planets in every universe. This universe that we are in is one of the smallest of all the universes, and that's determined by Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma has a particular body, and he has certain amounts of heads in that body according to the size of the universe. Well, this universe we live in, Brahma has 4 heads. That indicates one of the smaller universes. A story where Krishna was in Dwarka and Lord Brahma wanted to come and see Krishna. So Lord Brahma came to the doorstep of where Krishna was staying, and he made himself known by knocking on the door. Krishna's servant came out and said, yes. And Brahma said, I'm Lord Brahma, I came to see Krishna. So the servant went back in and he said to Lord Krishna, Brahma has come. And Krishna said, which Brahma has come? And then the servant went back out and asked, well, the Lord wants to know, which Brahma are you? And Brahma got a little confused. Which Brahma? I'm Brahma. And then he said, oh, I am the 4-headed Brahma. And then he went back and told Krishna, the servant did, and then Krishna came out. And then Lord Brahma offered respects. But then he said to Krishna, why did you ask which Brahma? I am Brahma. The Lord said, just look around. And the Lord had called all of the other Brahmas, and there were Brahmas with 10 heads, Brahmas with 100 heads, Brahmas with 1,000 heads, Brahmas with 1,000,000 heads. One Brahma would have 10 million heads. Depends on the size of the universe. Brahma has that many heads because he has to manage the universe. So our universe is quite small. Our Brahma only has 4 heads. But there are innumerable universes. It says just like if you had a huge jar of mustard seeds, you ever see a mustard seed? Mustard seed is very small. And if you drop it on the floor, chances are you'll never find it. It's so tiny, a mustard seed. So the comparison is made that the universes are packed up like mustard seeds in a big bag of mustard seeds. There are so many universes. And that is only 1/4 of all of existence, which we call creation. The other 3/4, Tripad Vibhuti, there is Ekapad Vibhuti and Tripad Vibhuti. Tripad Vibhuti is the spiritual world, which is 3 times bigger than the material world altogether. So we can't fathom the greatness of God and how great is his creation. And of course, the manifestation of the spiritual world is that it doesn't dissolve. Material universes, they come and go. They're under the influence of the time factor. It's the time factor that governs everything in the material world. Just like we can see very easily. We go through different stages in our life. We live for so many years, and then we have to give up this body. That is called death. Our beginning is called birth, and then intermediate. We go through different stages of life, young boy, and then a boy, a young man, and then middle age, and then older, and then very old, and ultimately die. We go through different stages, but it's the time factor that moves everything along. And what is that time factor? That is the impersonal energy of the Lord for moving the living entities in the material world from one stage to another. Because the material world is mutable, it's changeable. There's nothing stable in this material world. What once exists will not exist in the future. Everything is changing. Everything is under the influence of the time factor. Therefore, the time factor is an all-powerful energy in the material world. The analogies are used in the Shastras to give indications. The time factor is like a shepherd who herds his sheep from one pasture to another to another. In the same way that time is considered to be insurmountable, immovable, one cannot understand. I remember one time I came across this very large, uh, how can I describe it? It wasn't a book, but it was like a book. There was many papers piled together, and it was a symposium on time that happened in this in the United States somewhere, or somewhere in the world anyway, where some of the great thinkers came together to try to understand what is time. And there were different papers submitted, different ideas, so many things. But they can't understand because Bhagavad Gita says, time I am. And Krishna says, I am time. And he said, Mrityu Sabra Bhavasyaham. I am death, which is the ultimate principle of the time factor in the material world, which moves everything along. And so nothing is stable in this world. Hiranyakashipu wanted to live forever, and he performed so many austerities thinking that he could achieve that. He tried to cheat the Supreme Lord, who he didn't even know who it was. He prayed to the Lord Brahma, thinking Brahma was the Supreme Lord. When Brahma came, and he had performed so many austerities, and he wanted to be immortal. In other words, he wanted to live forever in the material world. But Brahma told him, I can't give you what I don't have. Even I am under the influence of time. And so Hiranyakashipu tried to think of ways he could live eternally by analyzing how one dies. One dies either on the land, the sea, or air. One dies inside or outside. One dies day or night. One dies by various weapons. One dies by different types of living entities that cause one's death. So he scanned as much as he could the possibilities of death. And he asked for that. Brahma granted that. But because he was a demon, and he was causing so much, he was so powerful, Hiranyakashipu, really powerful. He had all the demigods subservient to him. And they were working under his direction. Said when he would move his eyebrows, the demigods would flee in fear. The three demigods that he didn't have under control was Brahma, Vishnu, now Brahma, Shiva, and Narada. These were the three he didn't have under control. But all the 33 million demigods were his servants. He had even usurped the throne of Indra and sat on the throne. He made his palace in the heavenly planets. But he was defeated by his own son, who was a Vaishnava, and the boy was only 5 years old. Because Prahlad Maharaj, his son, was connected in loving devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was more powerful than his father, although he was a little boy and didn't exhibit any power. He had the power of God behind him. Therefore, Hiranyakashipu, when he tried to convince his son to become like he was, Prahlad Maharaj was only preaching to his son about the importance of becoming a devotee and worshiping the Supreme Lord. He was becoming so angry that he decided that my son is simply a pinprick or a big obstacle in my own plan for conquering the whole universes. So he should be eliminated. But he couldn't eliminate his son because he had the power of Krishna behind him, as hard as he tried. Like that. So that was the example of how someone, even in this material world, can become very, very materially powerful by austerities, by penances, and by various types of charity, like that. A lot of demons who are vicious, they like to give in charity because they know that by giving in charity, they get a lot of benefits from that. There's a section in the Veda called that deals with charities. How much, if you give so much charity to one type of person, you get that much back. If you give it to another type, you get double. If you give it to a Brahmin, you get, and then Veda Partha Brahman and the pure Brahman. And you can get charity, you can give in charity and get unlimited amount of returns from your charity. So charity works in that way. So demons also use charity to build their empires like that. So, but that doesn't make them powerful. It makes them, what we say, more powerful than the ordinary living entities. But nobody can be as powerful as the devotee of the Lord, because the devotee of the Lord has all the power of Krishna behind him. And if the devotee wants to use that power in a devotional way, then no one can thwart that power. The devotee is all powerful because Krishna is called Yogeshwara. He is the master of all mystics. So we saw how Prahlad Maharaj, he defied his powerful father who had so many vicious plans to kill him, but he couldn't do anything. Couldn't even move a hair on his body. There's a movie that was just recently produced in India, which is circulating around the world now, about the story of Prahlad Maharaj. You should go see that movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but anyway, it's about the life of Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. It's the whole story from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because this story is not some mythology. It's actually a reality that happened many, many thousands of years ago. And that same Supreme Personality of Godhead exists even today. Maha Avatar Nishringa, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen the movie, but many devotees have seen the movie. And there's those who keep going back to watch it again. It really illustrates the theme and the mood that is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's worth seeing. And it's in different languages. It's in 6 languages within India, and it is coming to Europe and the United States in actually English very soon, different European language also. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is all powerful, and he can you can try to conceive of something that is impossible to do, but that conception also is given to you by Krishna. No one can even conceive of something that Krishna can't do. Sometimes Prabhupada would make a point. He said Krishna can take day and change it into night, and change night into day. So you might think, how does that work? You can't even figure it out. But Krishna can do that. Krishna can do anything. There was one group of people who came to see Srila Prabhupada. They were intellectuals. They were from, in London, they were called, what was the name of that society? I forgot the name of the society. But they were a society of armchair philosophers who would sit around and pick topics and then discuss the topics threadbare in different ways. It was called the MUMSA. MUMSA? Was it MUMSA?
Mensa.
Mensa Society. Yeah, Mensa. So Prabhupada was talking about how Krishna is all powerful, he can do anything. So one of the gentlemen who were there posed a trick question to Prabhupada and said, can God create a can he create a what was it? Can God create a rock he can't lift? So if you listen to the words, creation and lifting. Can he create and not lift? So it's a trick question. If you say yes, that means you minimize his lifting power. And if you say no, then you minimize his creating power. So don't try to fool the spiritual master. So Prabhupada said, yes, God can create a rock he can't lift, and then he'll lift it. So, of course, trick questions with a trick answer. But the point is that God is all powerful. And here we see just a small drop in the huge ocean of God's creation that's being mentioned here, of the different living entities throughout the universe. And this is only one of the many, many millions of universes. Koti, Koti is the word Koti means millions, millions and millions of universes. And that's a very small part of all of God's existence. But yet, God is so personal. He sits in the hearts of all living entity as the super soul. He appears in the temple as the deity for worship. He comes in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam as a philosophical manifestation of his existence to teach about him and how to worship him and how to gain the goal of worship. He comes in the form of food, which is now known as prasadam. Now, the Lord is so diverse. He's within everything. He's without anything. There's nothing that is separate from him. Anything that is separate from him is just an illusion, because nothing can be separate from the source. But those who take the material energy and use it for their own sense gratification, they try to separate that energy from the source, and that is called material, and that is called cut off. But it's still connected, because Krishna says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. He is the controller of material energy completely, even though it's not being used in his service. He can still use his energies to dissolve the material energy simply by desiring. Parasya Shakti Vidhaya Suyate, Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. Krishna doesn't even have to do anything. All he has to do is desire, and his energies automatically fulfill his desires for creation, maintenance, and destruction, all activity in the material world. When it comes to the spiritual realm, then he personally gets involved in activity. But for the material, he doesn't touch it. He simply desires, and everything happens according to his will. And when he comes to this material world, he comes simply to uplift the conditioned souls, mostly his devotees, to a higher platform of devotion. So Krishna he's everywhere. He's within everything. Prabhupada wanted to make a point one time. He was giving a lecture to his assembled disciples, and he said, I am Krishna, you are Krishna, everything is Krishna, it's all Krishna. And that bewildered the devotees, because they had never heard Prabhupada speak like that. And then Prabhupada clarified. He said, simultaneously one and different. We are the energy of Krishna, but the energy and the source of energy can never be separated. Just like the sunshine can never be separated from the sun, but at the same time, it is separated. So in the same way, everything is connected to Krishna, but at the same time, separate in the material sense. And When we see separate, we see material. When we see something that's outside of God, we're seeing in the what we call limited source of existence. In other words, we're not seeing correctly. We're not seeing the whole picture. And when Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when you thus learn the truth, you know that all living beings are my parts and parcels. They're in me, and they're mine. All energy is created by the Lord. All energy is manifested through his energies, and everything is happening by his will. Even when calamities happen, it's also part of his will, because he describes his will in two ways. This is mentioned also in the Bhagavad Gita. He has his desires, and he also has his permission. When it comes to the material energy, he gives permission for the material energy to work according to how he set it up. But when it comes to his desires, then he wants all living entities to come back to him in loving devotional service. So, although things are happening, people say, well, why is God allowing it to happen? He's allowing it to happen, true, but at the same time, he's not making it happen, because the living entities also have power to try to exploit the material energy for their own selfish interests. And when they do, they get a reaction according to the type of exploitation that they attempt, that is within the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. There's a variety of reactions based on that, and that is called the karmic count. And here you see the different types of bodies that manifest according to karma: 8,400,000 species of life, and different reactions and sub-reactions and side reactions. Material energy is so complex. Just like they say within the scriptures say, within the atom, the whole universe can be seen within the atom. Can you imagine? No, you can't imagine how you can see the whole universal structure right within the atom. So Krishna has shown the microcosm, the macrocosm within the microcosm also. Everything is so, what we say, tightly synchronized, that any deviation from the laws of material nature, there is some reaction. And that reaction is a disciplinary action to bring the living entity back to its proper activity, proper consciousness. So you can't even blink your eyelid unless there is a demigod who sanctions that blinking. We have the example of Sanatan Goswami, who was doing his bhajan kutir on the outskirts of Manasi Ganga. And right on that same area, there's a temple of Lord Shiva called Chakaleshwara Mahadev. So he was writing every night, but every night there would be mosquitoes coming and harassing Sanatan, and he couldn't really concentrate on his writing. So one night he decided, this is the last night, I'm not coming back here because of these mosquitoes. Now, Chakaleshwar Mahadev is Shiva, and Shiva was enjoying the presence of Sanatan Goswami. So he disguised himself as an old Brahma, and he came to Sanatan. He said, oh, Sanatan, it's very nice you come out here. All of us are really finding great mercy and benefit by your presence. But I understand now you want to leave us because of the mosquitoes. But don't worry, I can guarantee you that if you stay here one more night, there will be no more mosquitoes. And so at that time, Shiva went to the demigod who's in charge of mosquitoes and told him, keep your mosquitoes away from Sanatan or away from Manasi Ganga. So the next night when he came back, there was no mosquitoes. And even to this day, that same place where Sanatan did his bhajan, there are no mosquitoes there. So the demigods work under the control of the Supreme Personality. But Ahamadi Deva Nam, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of the demigods. Whatever the demigods can do is coming ultimately from me also. So Krishna is all powerful. supreme power in all aspects of existence. Whatever you can conjure up as an area of existence, Krishna is there either directly or indirectly through his different energies. Nothing is outside of the Lord. When one can understand this principle, there is only one thing left to do: fully surrender to the Lord in devotion. Only a fool who has that understanding will not surrender to the Lord, because no one can live outside of the Lord. So we're either controlled by his external energy, the material energy, or we're controlled by his internal energy, the spiritual energy. When we're controlled by the external energy, we're under the influence of birth, death, disease, and old age, and life after life. Maya Vase, Kacho Bese, Kacho Ho Bubu Dubai. Life after life, we get different births and different species of life. Kardananguna Sangoso, Sadasa Joni. Sometimes we're fortunate, we get a birth in the higher planetary systems, like a demigod body. As is mentioned here, there are many demigods here. You have the Pitas, the Siddhas, the Charnas, the Gandharvas, the Vidyadharas. There's also the Kinnaras, the angels. Or you can get higher births in demon bodies too, the Asuras, the Yakshas. These are also higher births too. Pishashas, goats, various types of human beings, monkey-shaped Kimpurushas, Shastras, various types of living beings. So then we're controlled by the material energy. But if we take the devotional service and purify our existence, we enter into the spiritual realm, and then we're free. There's no more control, but we're controlled by an energy that brings us to fulfill all of our desires perfectly and completely. That means ultimate happiness, ultimate knowledge, and eternal life. We all want to live forever. You can't do it in this body. It's not possible. Everyone is under the influence of the time factor. No one can live. Prabhupada talks about that. There was one man, he was thinking, I want to beat death. And the Lord of Death is Yamaraj. So he comes to take, he sends his servants to take the subtle body and the soul of the living entity after the gross body dies to his abode for punishment. So this man was thinking, Yamaraj, he's a real gentleman. So I'm going to keep Yamaraj away from me. So he smeared his whole body with stool, thinking Yamaraj will never come towards me. But Prabhupada said he was unsuccessful. There was one person who did beat death. Prabhupada talks the story of Savitri Satyavan. Savitri was a very chaste and very devotional lady, and she prayed to Yamaraj for a son. Yamaraj had granted her the boon, but she wasn't married yet. So she had that son as coming up when she was married. Finally, she met her husband, whose name was Satyavan, and they fell in love, and then they made a date for marriage, and they did an astrological reading on Satyavan, and the reading was that on the wedding day, Satyavan would die. But love is blind, we say that, and therefore the marriage went through. And then, of course, on the wedding day, Satyavan died, and Yamaraj came along to take the body of Satyavan. Savitri saw her husband being taken away by Yamaraj, and she said, you can't take my husband. He said, Yamaraj said, that is my service. He's coming. She said, then she said, but you promised me a son. Yes, but I have no husband. How can I have a son without a husband? And then Yamaraj said, oh, I made a mistake. Prabhupada tells that story. And then he returned her husband to her. So this also has another message. A chaste wife can save her husband from death. So yeah, this is interesting. But that's another point. But the point is that everyone is under the time factor. But when one reaches the spiritual world and enters into their spirits, attains their spiritual body, then life is eternal. There's no ignorance. Everything is known, past, present, future, and everything, all knowledge is there. And then there is unlimited and unending happiness in service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is our birthright, and this is what we're meant to achieve. And it can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, by following his principles of devotional service, especially seriously and regularly, chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One can beat death. Prabhupada said devotees can achieve immortality. That means when we leave this body, it's our last time we'll give up a body, and then life is eternal from that point on. So this is, I mean, if you want to, we all want to achieve something in life. So why not achieve eternal life? And then there is no more problems, and there is no more suffering. There is no more ignorance, and the happiness that we achieve cannot be measured by any form of calculation or assumption or speculation. That it's undefinable. Okay, so yeah, but back to the point. All of the living entities that exist and everything in existence is a product of the Supreme Lord.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Such a wonderful class. I apologize for my slow internet. I couldn't share the screen. Thank you, Sridevi Mataji, for helping me. Thank you. Dear devotees, any questions or comments or realizations? You can please go ahead now. Such a wonderful topic, and you must have so many questions in this topic. Maharaj, I was thinking like, okay, let's go with Radha Vinodri Mataji. Yeah, Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. Thank you very much for this class. Maybe my question is not about the main topic, but you mentioned this movie about Lord Nishingadev and Prahlad Maharaj, and somehow in the past few years, one of my services became that I translate these animated movies about the Lord, incarnations, and associates to Hungarian. And I was a bit confused about it because lately I heard that Srila Prabhupada said that he's against animated movies because somehow devotees will see the Lord as someone legendary or someone like a fairy tale or something like that. And I saw this movie and I also translated this, and it is really full of devotion. But I don't know what kind of guidelines I can follow, which is suitable for devotees and which one is not.
Well, maybe Srimati can also confirm. She's seen the movie how many times? Twice?
Twice, Maharaj, yes.
Yeah, so Sridevi saw it 3 times? Twice.
2 times. Yeah.
You have to take Prabhupada's words according to time, place, and circumstance. If something brings out devotion in the way that devotion is being explained in the Shastras, then that is preaching. That's preaching. So I wouldn't use the general thing, just like Prabhupada said, we have nothing to do with hospitals. So we have the Bhaktivedanta Hospital, which is not a hospital, but it's a temple that treats people physically for ailments, but at the same time gives them Krishna consciousness. So this is Varnashram. This is Varnashram, using the material energy to preach, using the material energy in different ways to inspire people to take up devotional service. Prabhupada also said that we don't usually do movies also. And but Bhakti Charu Swami did a whole thing on the life of Srila Prabhupada. Videos. Yeah, Abhay Charan series, it's called. So yeah, you have to understand it within context. What Prabhupada was saying was what was available at that time was just imitation stuff. But he wanted devotees to use all aspects of the media to bring Krishna consciousness to people. So when it's done with devotees, and it's done without changing the essence, just like we do dramas too. And Prabhupada liked dramas, but he said the dramas should be with a message for Krishna consciousness. So devotees do different kinds of dramas. Some of them are not very, what we say, edifying spiritually, and others are really very powerful and leave the audience spellbound after they leave. So it's about quality. It's about intent. And if it's done by devotees. I know this movie is not done by a devotee. He's a favorable to devotee. He's so favorable that he actually took the script in the best possible way and presented it for everyone's edification. So you can't criticize that. And how he portrayed Prahlad Maharaj is the essence of that movie perfectly. That's the way I was told by Srimati told me that, and those who have seen it said that Prahlad Maharaj's role in the movie was tearjerk. People and devotees were crying.
Yes.
So yeah, if you generalize, yes, then you can generalize in so many different ways. But when it comes to something that has the essence of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said we can use everything in Krishna's service.
Yes, thank you very much. I also was really touched by this movie, so it was really, really amazing. It's just sometimes there are others also. So, for example, I translated one series about Lord Ramachandra and Hanuman, and devotees also like that one very much. But somehow lately it's more movies are shared, and sometimes it's not so easy to determine if because it's about Krishna and it's about his devotees, but not so easy to see if it's really devotional.
Be in line with authorized bona fide shastras.
Mm-hmm.
It's not if the theme deviates from the essence of the shastra, then it's just a form of entertainment. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you for confirming.
Thank you, Mataji. Sridevi Mataji.
Thank you, Srimati. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Wonderful class again, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. One point that really struck me again is what you said in the end. We all want to achieve something. So why not achieve eternal life? And you tell us this class after class after class that don't waste time. Get out of this prison house. Go back home, back to Godhead. That's a message that comes through very clearly to us time and time and time again. But this is not talked about so much. in other classes, when I go for other classes, when I listen to the normal classes over here, there's a lot of talk about the scripture, about the in a very theoretical way. But what you're speaking is, come on, get down to what you need to do to go back to Krishna. So this is very practical, and this is very much in keeping with Srila Prabhupada's desire for all of us to go back home. So thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, on our presentation, we also should give a clear understanding of what the goal of what we're doing. There is a goal, it's a purpose behind whatever activity we perform in devotional service. And there's people who have established other goals, which are not the real goals. So therefore, we have to clarify and make it clear what is the actual goal of devotional service. Prema Pumarta Mahan. When Prabhupada was asked, what pleases you the most? This was a very large assembly of book distributors who asked that question, along with many other persons who were there. This was in Atlanta, Georgia in 1975 in February. And Prabhupada, after speaking, he was given that question, what pleases you the most? Prabhupada said, if you love Krishna. That was the answer. It wasn't like, you got to distribute so many books. We got to do this. These two things are very pleasing, of course. But why does the spiritual master come? He comes to bring you back to the spiritual world. He doesn't come here simply to entertain you in different, different other activities. So we have short-term goals in our Krishna consciousness that will lead to the ultimate goal. But we have to be clear on what is the ultimate goal or the actual goal of devotional service. And Prabhupada said over and over again, don't come back again, because then you'll have to go through the whole thing again. Finish up in this life. So many times he said that.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Parijata.
Parijata Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, I've got two questions. This is a really, really helpful verse. It's really powerful. I was thinking about it, and the verse, does this imply that all forms of life, I mean, those considered lower and impure, have a divine origin and purpose? Even suffering and evil have a place in divine plan? And second, can creation be understood as a cosmic classroom for the soul's evolution rather than just mere material manifestation?
Yeah. The whole thing is a classroom to how to learn what you need to learn. You have to learn what you have forgotten. Yeah. And that's, first of all, the basis of our forgetfulness is our misidentity with our self. We think we're something other than who we actually are. So that's the basic principle. That's why Krishna speaks about that in the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita and takes the maximum amount of verses to clarify that important point, which is the foundation for all other knowledge. You are different than your body. You are a spiritual being. You have a material body. You are not the body. You're spiritual, and you have a relationship with the Supreme Spirit, and that comes later. But first, he's establishing the distinction between matter and spirit, between temporary and eternal. So that's that is the 1+1, or you might say the kindergarten level of spiritual. Yeah. And then everything with that starts to become clear and understandable. Then to get the higher knowledge, you understand who you are on the spiritual level and what is your relationship with Krishna according to your actual spiritual identity. That's higher knowledge. And when that becomes perfect, then that is the supreme knowledge. The different ways you serve Krishna in the spiritual world according to your eternal identity. Because we have an identity in the spiritual world. We're not just some bright light that spins around. We actually have a form. As we have a form here in this material world, we have a spiritual form.
So what does this verse teach us about the divine equality of all beings, whether gods, humans, animals, ghosts?
Yeah, to go beyond the external and into the essence, which is that all living beings are spiritual by nature and are created by the Lord. Their bodies are created by the Lord through the material energy, and their existence is coming from the Lord as being part of his existence. In other words, we are a fraction of his spiritual identity. He has limited and unlimited potencies. The jiva is the limited potency because we get trapped by the external energy, therefore we're limited. But when we free ourselves, we become unlimited again.
So this means that we need to view them with compassion and not superiority because they're part of the divine plan.
Compassion, yeah. What is that? Compassion is that one works for the benefit of others, and that benefit is to distribute transcendental knowledge so people can free themselves from these different forms of suffering according to the type of body they have. Because even people in the higher plane are suffering also. Although they suffer less, they still suffer because there's still, as Prabhupada pointed out in this, to go from third class prisoner to first class prisoner is not the solution. You're still in the prison house.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Does that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hare Krishna. Did you get my response to your question on?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I am still trying to work out the terms in Sanskrit, and it took me some time to kind of decode what they were trying to say. I've taken down the notes, and I just needed to know what's the source of that commentary.
That's coming from the Sri Sampradaya.
Sri Sampradaya. Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
There's a particular website that was just recently created where for every verse in the Bhagavatam you can get many commentaries coming from different sampradayas.
That was really helpful because here we have our debates with the Vedantis, especially those who are followers of the Arya Samaj and those who are Mayavadis. So they're so aggressive. Sometimes they come and they just shoot the questions, and that really helped me. My mentor has prepared me well for such people, but here, the place where I live in, it's a challenge. So that really helped, Maharaj. That's why I needed help. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
If you have any more, I noticed that this particular access to this website is by permission. So I received permission from the persons who created it. So I don't know how it works, whether others can get permission also, because it's a really, I don't know, that's how they set it up anyway.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Balavanitai Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Jai Shri Nityananda. I don't know if this, I have two things piqued by, one by your talk and one by the verse, the shloka. What is a goblin and how does it serve God? So I guess that's my first one. And then a more you brought up and illustrated beautifully this principle that as things are in the greater universe or the macrocosm, as they are in the microcosm, I wonder how explicitly that principle is spelled out in shloka. If there are many sort of direct references to that principle, and how can I better understand that in my life? So I guess what's a goblin and how how that principle?
Try to answer your second question, which is a really interesting. How everything is, well, Prabhupada would give us some examples to show us that if you want to know Krishna, examine yourself. So think about that one. If you want to know Krishna, examine yourself. That means, how do you think? How do you function? Krishna also has the same way, but it's perfect. The only thing is what we do is imperfect, but he does the same thing on a perfectional level. That's the difference between Krishna and us. But the patterns are the same. Even the forms, just like the living entity in the human form has the same form as Krishna. And so Krishna likes to enjoy. We like to enjoy. Krishna likes to enjoy girls. So you like to enjoy girls too. So, so yeah, you look at it from that point. But
He's like
his enjoyment is pure love, and our enjoyment is pure lust. So it's a difference in quality.
Okay.
So yeah, there's many similarities between the living entity in the human form and in Krishna in his original form.
Ways are sort of shadow ways or deformed ways or less pure ways. It seems to me, though, that there has to be, or well, not has to be.
I can give you a deformed way. Just like boys like to show off in front of girls just to impress girls. They do that sometimes just to show the girls how great they are. So Krishna does the same thing. When he was dancing on the heads of Kaliya, he was dancing very nicely because the gopis were watching and he wanted to impress the gopis by his dancing. And girls can study Radharani. They'll see that there's certain things that Radharani does towards Krishna that they do also in this material world. Like they act one way, but they think in another way. Girls are very expert in doing that. So, there's so many similarities between the spirit. But in one level, one is pure, one is full of love, one is perfection, one is ideal in all sense, and the other one is just an imitation of the reality. And therefore, the only similarity is the external. The mood is completely opposite.
Is that steady gradation from impure to pure that characterizes that principle in our world?
Well, we are pure by nature, and but we connect with something that's impure, just like to have a healthy body is the norm for the body's existence, but we get disease. So disease is foreign, but then we take the medicine and then we get rid of disease and we return to our natural health. So our natural health is to love and serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in full knowledge. But because we're connected with this material energy, which is another form of the disease, the material energy is like a disease. Because it connects with us to make us think and act differently, and then we undergo suffering. The disease causes suffering. Living in the material world causes suffering. But it has nothing to do with you. But it's connected with our body, and therefore, because we identify with the body, we identify with what happens to the body. When you can learn this principle, then you can be free from all anxiety and all sufferings. Because when things come to you in those ways, you realize it has nothing to do with me. But still, I have to undergo some difficulty. But difficulty is I have a material body, and therefore what's happening is happening to the material body, not to me.
Yes, myself is untouched.
Right. But come to that realization, and then you're free from even the effects when it happens. When somebody wants to give you something and you don't take it, then it's not yours. Just don't take the activities of the material world to be the activities of life. They're simply shadows. It's just an array of shadows dancing in the darkness.
An array of shadows dancing in the darkness. So beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. This material world's dark because if it wasn't for the sun, there would be no light at all, no life at all. So we're in a dark planet, but the sun gives light. And we have a body that's just full of so many problems. Janma mrityu sharadvari dukkha dosha darshanam. So many. But these things are all ephemeral and external. They had nothing to do with you. But because the bodily identification is so strong, we accept these things as happiness and distress in this world. So one who's not moved by happiness and distress is one who's fixed on the spiritual platform. Mm-hmm. You know, I can say certain things, but I don't want to shock everybody. Just like look around you, everything you see, everything you have, and everything you are will be gone soon. So don't claim it to be yours in the first place, and that way you don't have to worry about losing it. We're using whatever Krishna gives us in this material world to maintain ourselves, but actually has nothing to do with me, the soul. It has everything just to solidify the body. You have a car. The car is useful, gets you from one place to another. You take care of the car, but you're not the car. The body is the same mind. The analogy is perfect. But we take care of the body because I'm in the body. But we have to understand what happens to the body is not happening to us. Therefore, we use the mind to connect with the spiritual realm, and that can then get the mind. Krishna says, one has to elevate themselves by the mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned souls and his enemy is as well. So it's all about directing the mind towards Krishna, towards devotional. That's the essence. Amrita.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. So beautiful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
so
Bala. You stay close to Lord Nityananda, he'll give you all the mercy you need.
I will.
Amrita
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances of Lord Srila Prabhupada.
Guru Maharaj, I have a question related to Sankirtan. Actually, it's a clarification. So while we were in the yatra, we were talking to some devotees, and they came up with a question that these days, for Sankirtan, we have Sankirtan parties and we are charging for that. So should that be charged? Because since this is a Yuga Dharma, this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came for. And Srila Prabhupada highly recommended for Sankirtana. So should these parties be Sankirtan parties, should that be charged or not charged?
Charge, you mean financially?
Yes, yes, yes.
What do you mean? Should they? I don't know. You mean explain a little bit more so I understand clearer. I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, so
Give an example.
elaborating this, I can say that even in this society of Krishna consciousness, there are many Kirtaniyas who are organizing the Sankirtan parties, and they are charging, and sometimes the charges are quite high. So, should that be done or not?
Not Sankirtan parties. These are kirtan venues where they come and invite people for chanting, right? Sankirtan party is the groups that leave the temple. That's a Sankirtan party. These individual kirtaniers, they organize their own programs and they do outside venues. Is that what you're thinking of? That's different.
Okay, so that is not counted as the Sankirtan?
No, that's kirtan. But, Prabhupada said we should do kirtan to outside groups who ask us. We shouldn't be out there marketing it as a franchise. That's not. No, we don't sell the Sankirtan movement. It's meant for glorification of Krishna only. But Prabhupada said, if they contact us and say, can you bring your kirtaniers to our program? And the Prabhupada said we should charge something. So the charging is for their benefit, not to make a living out of Sankirtan. That's not the program. There are devotees who, unfortunately, are making some livelihood off this kind of Sankirtan. That's not Krishna conscious.
Right.
To make it a livelihood. It's done to glorify the Lord, to inspire others to take up Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy name. It's the motivation behind it. But Sankirtan parties are meant to go out and chant in the streets and in different places to spread the glories of the holy name. But if people, groups say, can you bring your Sankirtan group to our program? Prabhupada said, then we should charge something. So they don't think we're just some group of street singers who just come and sing whenever they want to call us, you know. You have to see the distinction between Harinam Sankirtan and programs that are meant for economic gain. Those are not Krishna conscious. They're just being done to support somebody's livelihood. We shouldn't make a business out of Sankirtan. That's not the program.
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj. That quite clarifies. Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Dear devotees, any more questions or comments? Maharaj, I want to get one clarification. Today in today's class, we had the topics of karma and time. So I just want to clarify that when the time comes, then the karma of our past deeds, we are going to face that results of that particular karma, right? So how the relationship goes with both karma and time, I'm trying to understand that. So
Then you'll never understand that because karma works in different ways, depending on the quality of the karma, depending on the devotee, everything. There's different kinds of karmas also. There's karma that happens instantaneously. There's karma that happens after many lifetimes. There's karma that happens in different ways. There's four kinds of karma that I know of. One is called instant, one is called delay, one called manifested, and one is called mass. There's four kinds of karmas. Instant karmas, you say something to somebody and they respond back in a similar way. Delayed karma is the activities you perform that manifest later in the form of the birth that you take. That's delayed karma. Then it manifests like that. Mass karma is when a whole bunch of people get the same reaction all at once, like a plane crash, 200 people die. That's mass karma. So there's different ways that karma, and Krishna doesn't, he even says, the intricacies of karma are too difficult to understand, so he doesn't explain them. They're too complicated. We can't understand. Because what makes up our karma collective consciousness is something that is happening this life, previous lives. We don't even know. It's kind of cumulative. What has been burnt up, what is still residual. We have so many examples that people get reactions from karma 50 lives later. Can't understand. It's just, don't try to figure it out. All you can do is understand that there is a law working called action and reaction.
Mhm.
But we can understand that sometimes, using an example, that if you build a debt when you don't have any money, you can't pay the debt. But then when you get the money, then you can pay the debt. So when you create some activity, but you can't get a reaction for that because you don't have the qualities to get that reaction, then you have to get those qualities and then the debt will cash in. The example I always use is the one with Krishna and Dhritarashtra. I think I've mentioned that so many times.
Yes,
How he wanted to know his karma from previous lives, and Krishna told him 50 lives ago. So yeah,
Yes.
karma doesn't happen always instantaneously.
Mm. Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, got it.
Recently there was a plane crash in Ahmedabad. More than 200 people died on that.
Yeah.
You can look at it from different angles of vision and find the faults on the material level that made that happen. But on the higher level, we can't understand why all those people got their karma at one time. Can never understand that.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
But everyone,
Recently, near my
see, we all think we're free, but we're not. We're controlled at every moment. The idea is to get out of the control of the material energy and get under the control of Krishna. That's the goal. Then you're free.
yes,
Then there's no
Maharaj.
more karma. Karma is dispensable, and karma is nullifiable. That's the only thing that you can destroy completely. You can become completely karma free by developing devotional activities. Most of us who are engaged in devotional service, we're still getting the residual reactions of our karma coming from previous and present lifetimes. And then we're wondering why this happened. Actually, it's being burnt up. And once it manifests, then it's gone. That is called parabdha karma. Parabdha karma is what Krishna allows you to experience even while you're in devotional service. And then eventually, the example is when you come to a fan, the fan is spinning really fast. You shut off the switch or you pull out the plug, the fan doesn't stop. The force is still moving that fan, but it'll eventually stop. So our karma is still coming, even though we're engaged in devotional service. The idea is not to create any new karma by acting in the material way.
Mm.
And eventually all of your material karma will be finished and you'll be fully under the protection of the Daivi Shakti, or the internal energy.
Yeah, it looks wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sridevi Mataji.
I have a question regarding Guru Maharaj, your answer to Amrita Nam's question. I was just wondering because I've heard at Kirtan Melas that famous Kirtaniyas are invited and it's an all expenses paid trip. And I don't know, I'm never organized anything, so I don't know. But when they're offered some Lakshmi, is that wrong? Because they may not have any other means of livelihood, they may not have any other means of taking care of their family, and this may be what they do as a professional seva. I don't know, I'm asking because I may say I was born in the movement, I never went to school, I never did anything else, I only know to do kirtan. So now I'm going to do kirtan and I'm going to make that my profession.
You answered your own question. Kirtan is for glorification of the Lord, not as a profession.
Okay.
But if people give donations, then devotees will accept it. But we shouldn't be out there making it into a business. That's the point. Or a livelihood.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I understand that
Means
now.
you're using Krishna in a material way.
Mm.
And you can't do that without getting a reaction from that.
But isn't that what is happening? Or some of our Kirtaniyas are treated like celebrities or rock stars or something, and
I can't really say whether it's happening or not.
okay.
But that's the premise. Prabhupada spoke about that. Kirtan is for glorification of the Lord, not to be used for some material purpose. Take that principle and then you can understand everything.
Maharaj, there is a comment by Shukhava Mataji on the same topic. She's telling that the devotees organize these private programs and charge devotees for the same. Also, if we call them to do kirtan, they charge us too. Can anything be done to stop this?
I don't want to get into this subject matter. We can talk about it all night. It's not a point of discussion.
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah.
I gave the principle. Take the principle and then try to understand it according to what you experience. You judge. I'm not here to make judgment. I'm here to give you the standard by which kirtan is meant for glorification of the Lord. When Prabhupada also talks about how kirtan was used to solve material problems, he said sometimes out of an emergency that was done, but actually it's against the whole principle of bhakti. Because kirtan is simply, the word kirtan comes from the word kirti, which means to glorify the Lord. That's the only purpose for kirtan, to glorify the Lord and to bring others into glorification of the Lord also, and to purify our hearts through that glorification.
Yes, Maharaj.
I'm going to give you the principle. I'm not going to deal with all of these different situations that come up. You have to determine that yourself.
So before going to Sakshi Mataji, there is a question on chat by Netravati Mataji. She is asking, Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. As demigods are controlling the senses, how much individual Jivatma has a role in controlling the senses?
Well, they're giving you the power to control, but then you have to control it. If you want to cook and there's no gas, you can't cook. But if the gas is there, you still have to do the cooking. So yeah, you have to control your mind and senses. The ability is given to you. But if you don't use it, then you become controlled by the mind and senses, and then you are under the influence of the changing material energy. They don't control the senses for you, but they allow you to function in such a way as that you have the power to control the senses. But if you don't use it, then that's your business.
So it is up to us that how we control the senses, right, Maharaj?
That's the first principle of bhakti, to control the mind and senses. Without that, there's no question of bhakti.
Mm. Yes. Thank you, Mahesh. Sakshi Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All praise to Srila Prabhupada. So Guru Maharaj, my question is, since in the past few lectures you were describing about the nature of devotional service, so I just wanted to know, you've mentioned that Krishna cannot be known through knowledge, through yogic processes, and through speculation, but he can only be known by full devotional service. So I just wanted to know, what is this full devotional service? If you can explain on it.
You want to know what the meaning of full means, right?
Yes.
Well, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo, Yito Bhakti Hoksa Jaya Hoitu Kia Priyata, Yayatma Suprasidati. Devotional service has to be unmotivated. That means no material motivations. And uninterrupted, that means without stopping, in order to completely satisfy the self. That's full devotional service. Full devotional service means mind, body, and words. So it starts, you take the knowledge given to you by the spiritual master or by Krishna through Shastra. You apply that knowledge in your day-to-day life. You follow the instructions given to you, and you perform the activities accordingly. If you do that, you're in the process of devotional service. If you come out of that arena, then your energy is being diverted away, and then you're no longer in full devotional service. So it's something that you have to constantly cultivate. Devotional service is not something you put on hold, or it's not circumstantial. It's not circumstances either. The whole process is the soul is always connected with Krishna, but it's forgotten. So you're bringing yourself back to that connection with Krishna by using the body, the mind, and the senses in the service of the Lord, guided by knowledge coming from the spiritual master, coming from Krishna, by coming from Shastra.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. That's really very helpful.
Yeah, so that's why we have to understand how the process works. So we don't get we take something that is not devotional service and think it's devotional service. Therefore, just understand the instrument. Ask the spiritual master, how can I serve? And then carry it out. So, nobody wants to ask because they don't want to get things they don't want to do. Not nobody, but we're very careful making sure that we plan our devotional service according to what works for me. And for householders, generally the spiritual master gives them that freedom because they have to manage their families and they have to take care of having the resources to do that. So he isn't getting, but the basic principle is sadhana, service. Establish a regular sadhana and then a regular service every day. And that's all. And if you have to manage your families, then that should be done as a service to Krishna also, following the principles that govern household life. The Rupa Goswami explains the 6 things that are favorable to devotional service. One is sadhuvritti. Sadhuvritti means to work according to your ashram. Follow those principles that govern your particular ashram. And then you're protected by those religious principles. If you set up your own system, then you're in a very, what we say, precarious situation. It can be overcome by the material energy at any time. You're protected if you follow the instructions of the spiritual master and follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. You're protected.
Guru Maharaj, you just mentioned one point that something appears to be a devotional service, but it is not. So how do we remain on guard? How do we identify that something which is something looks like devotional service is actually not?
So you want an example?
Yes, please.
All right, so you're at the Govardhan Eco Village, and you're working to make chapatis. So that's your service. So you think, boy, I'm looking at chapatis every day, so many of them. Maybe I should go over there and cook the vegetables. But nobody's given you any permission to do that, but you just run over there and join the vegetable cooking ladies. Because it's what you want to do. So because it has some element of bhakti in it, you get some benefit, but you're not you're not surrendered. You're surrendered to the ideas, I want to serve in this way. If you want to serve in a special way, then get permission to do that. but don't do it whimsically or independently. Sakshi, it disappeared. What happened? She left. I guess she got tired of my answer, huh?
You may have internet
She's
problems.
not able to.
Maharaj. I don't think she wants to leave.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you
She's-
very much. Message.
Okay, so we're at the 2-hour mark.
Yes, Maharaj, yeah. Yeah, such a nice discussion going on, and everyone, yeah, but we lost some devotees online. So here Mohanasni Mataji is asking, when does the soul come into the body?
At the time of conception. The male, within the male injection, the soul is there. You eat food. Rain, souls come from the rain. The rain comes down, souls are in the rain, and they go into the grass. They're eaten by the animals, they're eaten by the humans. And in the body of the man, there is different souls. And then according to karma also, this is really hard to understand, but when the male connects with the female, he injects the soul into the female, and that fertilizes the womb, and then the body starts to form. The body can't form unless there is the active principle of spirit. Spirit has to be there, and that comes at the time of conception. Then life begins at conception, not 9 months later when it comes out. You see, in Vedic culture, they celebrate different times of the pregnancy of the lady. They have very many rituals to move that soul nicely in its particular state, so it gets so many benefits, both for the mother and for the child. In Vedic culture, it's a real glorious situation to conceive a child. There's celebrations, there's so many different ways to honor that whole process of motherhood, fatherhood, like that. You study the life of Krishna, you can see how his parents celebrated different things before he was born and even when he was born. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Dear devotees, any last minute questions before we end?
That's why there's Garbhadan Samskara, in order to purify the womb and bring an advanced soul into that womb. If one doesn't follow the Garbhadan Samskara, and they engage in trying to produce a child, it's very risky what kind of soul may come into that womb. So now there is books on it, on Garbhadan Samskara. There's a devotee named Bart Chandra, his name is. He's written a whole book on Garbhadan Samskara. So birth is very, must be practiced properly by everyone involved. And it's also done as a celebration too. Okay.
Mataji, hope that answers. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Such a wonderful class and nice discussions today. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear devotees. We'll all meet again tomorrow for Chaitanya Charitamrita class. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare